There's been a change in the way I look at my life recently. I no longer wake up in the morning questioning the dark and dingy secrets within the world and moan about the problems that I face. When I do face problems in life, I just think, what would Dupont do? I've seen quite a few things in my time on this small floating rock, but there's been one consistent throughout my entire time here. That's Dupont. As humans, we strive for reliability, consistency, strength, safety. That's Dupont. And within the rugby world, we're striving for our GOAT, the greatest of all time. And of course, that's...
Cut! No, stop. Cut there. Cut there. It's ridiculous what you just said, mate. You can't... I know what you were going to say then. You can't say that.
What do you mean I can't... What do you mean I can't say that?
No, see, I've got it here. Got it written down here. You can't make claims like that because you start a fight in the comment section. You can't have an opinion in rugby. You should know that by now.
Okay, that's kind of weird. It seems pretty boring. What do you suggest then?
Gonna have to call it something else. What about the think of another animal. What about pig? Performance in game. Yeah, let's call him that. Call him the pig, not the goat. Let's call him the pig, alright?
Pig.
Alright, take two.
Pig. Is that the best we can? Is that the best the team can think of? Is it? Pig. Okay. Alright. Alright. So I guess Dupont's the pig then. Everyone that knows rugby knows how special Dupont is. To me, he's a player that transcends any positional boundaries that are set by rugby. And what I mean by that is that he can almost do a job in any position, apart from maybe prop and second row due to his biological limitations. Which is something you see so rarely within rugby because it is a sport where individuals dedicate their entire career learning and developing skill sets specific to positions. So to see a player that can run, kick, pass, jackal, tackle so well under so many different game scenarios really opens your eyes to how good of a rugby player this man is. And not a scrum half, not his position, a rugby player. Look, I will be the first to admit I so didn't want to be part of the Dupont hype train when these first initial out of these world performances started to occur. Primarily because I'm English, and secondly because I didn't want to admit that this smaller built, stone cold, keep himself to himself player could dominate a game of rugby so well like he does. You know, whether it's a 50-22, a try-saving tackle, or an unbelievable missed pass over the top, it always makes you stop and think, you know, what am I watching here? We're past the point of a fluke season now. No longer old man Billy Bob down the pub can claim beginner's luck. In fact, old man Billy Bob now supports France and is part of the Dupont fan page on Facebook. Dupont has proven himself time and time again, putting in man of the match performances almost every time he steps onto the rugby pitch. And I know what some people are going to say, he hasn't won a Rugby World Cup. That is a load of rubbish, in my opinion, right? I don't think that Rugby World Cup wins can be truly used as a metric to how good a rugby player is. And let me explain why. First of all, because there's only been 10 of them, so it doesn't really feel like they carry overly too much weight. And secondly, because rugby itself is such a heavily based on being a team sport with individuals with such niche roles and positions, that it would just feel unfair to base a individual's performances on their team's overall outcome. For example, if you're a back and your forward pack is being destroyed the entire game, you just feel completely useless, and vice versa, of course. So yes, maybe his team hasn't and didn't win the World Cup, but my goodness, were his performances good during it, and that's what should count. And his introduction into Rugby Sevens should be used as a case study of how good of an athlete he actually is. You know, Rugby Sevens is a sport for athletes, men and women, that have been injected with the Captain America super serum, okay? Some of the most athletic athletes around the world perform on the Rugby Sevens circuit. And yes, maybe they're not necessarily the best rugby players all the time, but my goodness, can they step, tackle and run. And Dupont just slipped in there as if it was nothing, which is really annoying. Obviously, I was hoping that he'd actually go in there and be quite naff, be like a fish out of water, but it turns out he's joined and he's some sort of Jaws character going around destroying people and taking names. And it truly shows off some of his athletic abilities that you don't necessarily see in the 15s game because of his position. Like as a scrum half, you don't always get the opportunity to show how fast you can be. You can see, in fact, that this guy is actually really, really fast and has produced some amazing moments this season on the 7 circuit. And I would hate to say that the France 7 success this season was purely down to the introduction of Dupont into their programme, because quite frankly that would be unfair and wrong. There are plenty of factors coming into play of why they're doing so well, but it sure is a coincidence, right? And imagine if Dupont won an Olympic gold this year. The whole rugby world would shit its pants. And excuse my French, and also, pardon the pun there. But it's true. Imagine if he did win Olympic gold. All the rugby stars would align and all the problems of the rugby world would be in the palm of Dupont's hand. And with a snap of his fingers, all the problems would go away. And that's what it feels like, right? It feels like he's got the rugby world wrapped around his fingers. He is in complete control of his narrative. Not because he's some sort of flashy superstar or a massive character off the field, because he lets his performances do the talking. And boy, are his performances good. And not for a one-off game or a wonder try once every 2 seasons. He puts in performances so consistently. And this isn't his team's performance, these are his performances, and they're always a privilege and an honour to be able to watch. What's so delightful is his core skill set is so strong. His pass, for example, it's accurate, it's fast, it's sympathetic, really allows him to drive that tempo as a 9, and even when he slips into the 10 position, he has the ability to produce a beautiful catch pass that can put people into holes around him. Look, don't get me wrong, he throws a dodgy one once in a while, but we're all human, right? And his kicking is fantastic also. Not only the box kick, it's a range of kicking he has at his disposal, whether that's out of the hand, a grubber, from the tee even. This combination of different kicks that he has at his disposal means that he can utilise them in so many different game scenarios, and it helps his team get out of some seriously dark spots in game. But I think, in my opinion, that his most useful asset that he has is not his passing, it's not his kicking, it's actually his defensive ability. His ability to produce these game-defining defensive moments is what, in my opinion, puts him in a completely different universe to everyone else at the moment. He can not only tackle like a machine, he also jackals like some sort of rabid dog, and it always seems to come out when it matters the most, which must be unbelievable as one of his teammates. Whether it's him dragging a fully grown man away from the try line like some sort of child on a leash, or if it's him putting in a jackal that stops and attacks momentum dead in its tracks. It always seems to occur in those vital moments, and that's purely down to the work that he puts in off the ball. Look, let's be honest, it's impossible to say whether Dupont will be the greatest rugby player we will ever see. The guy's only 27, and let's all hope that we see many more years of him in action to come. You know, with the nature of the sport that we love, this could be Dupont's peak now. It could be now about him maintaining this performance for as long as he can. Or, and I think as rugby fans we can all agree, hopefully there's even more in the tank somehow. Though it could be the case, and it's not unheard of, that Dupont just suddenly drops off. But in my opinion, I don't think that will happen to Dupont. Just because I don't think he'll let it happen. He seems, and this is just an assumption because I obviously don't know the bloke, but he seems like the ultimate professional. He clearly puts in an unbelievable amount of work behind closed doors, and you can see that coming through in his performances. So where does he go from here? Wherever he wants. And I think that might be the secret formula to Dupont. He honestly seems like he does and will do whatever he wants, because, quite frankly, he doesn't seem to feel any pressure from his nation or his club. Nothing seems to faze him. You could honestly put a polar bear in front of him that hasn't eaten for about 3 months, and I reckon he'd laugh, drop the shoulder, and goosey around the outside of him. And that's inspiring, and should be inspiring for young rugby players that are looking up to him as a player. And what a privilege it is to have him as a player to look up to. A true talisman of the game, and someone that hopefully will be inspiring the next generation, and even inspiring people to maybe put their boots back on. And that's what's so great about this special player. He inspires. He's bringing eyes to the sport that we all love, and whether that's eyes that have watched thousands of games before or eyes that are watching their first 80 minutes, he's inspiring the next generation. So thank you, Dupont. Thank you for what you're doing to the game that we all love. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.